And so what happened with Elon Musk's X was internet trouble, because the Global Government Affairs, this is Australia, said that the Australian Safety Commissioner had ordered it to remove certain posts in Australia that publicly commented on the recent attack against the Christian bishop. The regulator demanded that X withhold the posts or face a daily fine of $500,000. This is what the company said, and they didn't give any details. X believes that eSafety's order was not within the scope of Australian law, and we complied with the directive pending a legal challenge. The eSafety Commissioner does not have the authority to dictate what content X users can see globally. And X said they would robustly challenge this unlawful and dangerous approach in court. When asked about X's comments, an agency spokesman cited an eSafety Commissioner statement that was working to ensure X's compliance with the Australian law. We are considering whether further regulatory action is warranted. The regulator, a government body that works to remove harmful content online, sent legal letters in March to social media platforms, including X, demanding information about their efforts to stamp out terrorism content. Now, they talk about the bearded Emmanuel, the bishop at the Assyrian Christ, the Good Shepherd Church. He is a social media star with followers around the world, but also a divisive preacher. Divisive. Now, I've heard him. I know what he stands for. And they said he makes fiery criticisms of homosexuality, COVID, vaccinations, Islam, and U.S. President Joe Biden's election. And he does. But he's a Christian. He's supposed to speak the truth. And America, whether you like it or not, homosexuality is an abomination before the Lord God. And COVID was a mess. And also Islam is a mess as well because of what it does globally. One of the largest terrorists, is the Islamic terrorist network. The network of all the Islamists that want to kill Christians and Jews. And we have a lot of problems online. You're not going to stomp out everything, but this is what it was. Now, see, we knew about what happened to Mari Emanuel. We knew it, and we saw the video of him being stabbed. We had been listening to him off and on. I do research regularly, and so I was online. I actually saw the attack. And so at any rate, these are the issues. It's not just that. There's a lot of stuff going on. And now with our, America borders that are totally wiped out, with millions of illegals in here, with a lot of Muslims and a lot of Chinese in here, many of them are fighting age. So America stands right on the threshold of a global catastrophe right here in our country. All because of the ineptness, the stupidity of Joe Biden and the Democrats and the lackadaisical do-nothing Republicans. The charge is that our own government did this, and they will be totally responsible for the results of their ignorance, their stubbornness, their plots, and their hatred to bring down Donald Trump. Period. Are you ready, Tower?
Yes. This story comes to us via International Christian Concern, persecution.org. Unlike Christians in the neighboring state of India, believers in Nepal have, until recently, been more protected from state-sanctioned discrimination and violence. However, the tide is turning as the persecution that Indian Christians have known for some time slowly bleeds across the border. Several reports have suggested that proximity to India is not the only reason for this shift. Some evidence suggests that funds have been sent directly from the pro-Hindu nationalists who control India into Nepal, resulting in increased violence toward religious minorities. Christians, Muslims, and Buddhists have seen their sacred buildings, holy ceremonies, and specific individuals targeted by the Hindu majority. The growing trend toward a more persecuted and discriminatory Nepal could be seen last week as protesters marched on the Parliament building in Kathmandu, airing their demands for their country to return to the monarchy and a Hindu state. The march eventually turned violent as protesters clashed with police, resulting in several serious injuries. Since the march, many in the inside and outside of Nepal have expressed concern over the growing Hindu nationalism. An ICC partner in Kathmandu has expressed concern over this growing trend, sharing that evangelism work is becoming more dangerous across the country. Please pray that Christians in Nepal will remain bold in their faith despite the growing threat of persecution, and that they will remain safe.
Well, that is a problem.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's ramping up everywhere, all over the world.
It is.
The persecution of Christians and other minorities.
Now, this one comes to us from Transform Iran, which is a ministry. But what happens is Transform Iran, among many other ministries, publish articles on Mission Network News online to get things out of what they're doing. And so we're discussing an attack by Iran on Israel's soil. And, of course, Transform Iran is trying to do things in Iran. And this attack may have some of the most significant political ramifications so far. In other words, this could really backfire. And, of course, we've already seen it do that. We've seen what happened in America. We've seen how they're boycotting and doing everything they can regarding this in Gaza. In our colleges, some of our colleges, and these are higher learning colleges. These are some of the exclusive, like Harvard and others. Why did Iran directly attack Israel for the first time in its history? Well, the thing about it, though, is, there is no doubt that 98% of what Iran shot at them was destroyed. And so this is a thing that Iran has to learn. Leave Israel alone. Israel wouldn't be attacking anybody if Hamas hadn't done so brutally, godlessly, and viciously what they did to innocent Israeli civilians. So they brought it on themselves, and Israel has a right to demand the last drop of blood to pay back the blood that they spilt of innocent Israelis. Whether the world likes it or not, or America likes it or not, Israel has a right to do this.
That's right.
Meanwhile, Iran still is a country that there's a lot of people are trying to do something. transformiran.com. They preach the gospel, they plant churches, they disciple believers, they develop leaders, and they're working to transform the nation. They have offices in the UK, the USA, specifically California and the Netherlands. Now, Lana Silk, who is the CEO of Transform Iran, says Iran is a difficult situation because, as you say, they can't be seen to have all bark and no bite. So they can't just keep throwing all these threats out there and not follow through. The lead up to Iran's attack has been a tit-for-tat process of escalation. Prior to October 7th, Israel had a ceasefire with Hamas and was preparing to sign a peace deal with the Sunni government of Saudi Arabia. Then on October 7th, Iran provided support for the terror attack by Hamas that killed over 1,200 Israelis and took around 240 hostages. Now, this is the CEO of Transform Iran, who is working in Iran. Their ministry is, which is pretty difficult to do, I might add. Iran has continued to add fuel to the fire in the Holy Land through its Shia proxies in Yemen and Lebanon. Israel sent a message to Iran by striking the Iranian consulate in Syria on April 1st, where they killed 2 Iranian generals and 5 officers. Following the Iranian consulate strike, Tehran vowed to retaliate, which led to Iran sending hundreds of drones and missiles at Israel. And like I said, most of those, in the 98% were shot down. And so she goes on to say that there was a power struggle between the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the Ayatollahs. And it makes for uncomfortable bedmates, she says, when they turn to and deal with wars abroad. That's certainly what the atmosphere is in Iran today, that maybe there's some infighting going on, and of course there's other implications, she says. And then there's the Iranian people, the majority of whom feel disenfranchised, but their own government are struggling to make ends meet. And I think that's true, and I think that's exactly where you're at. So these are some things that, a little bit about behind the scenes of Iran involved and Israel involved in this tit-for-tat contest. And, where all these innocent Israelis were killed. And, I didn't, Transform Iran, this is not the first time I've heard of them. We have a whole list of ministries, and it grows all the time because there's so many ministries doing this kind of stuff. So pray for the Christians in Iran, and pray for Israel. And, in the end of days, if we're really truly in the end of days, which we are, I believe, then Israel is going to face issues, tough issues, life and death issues, and so are Christians. That's the way it's going to be. And the whole world will be shaken. Now, for those today, there's some of these big wigs in Europe that want a globalist thing, of all the nations, and they also want, to fight global warming because they believe it's going to cause all these catastrophes. But I got news for you. If you look into what the prophecies say about these end of days, everything points to kinds of signs that are going to happen that is going to lead people to believe it's global warming. It's not global warming. Matter of fact, Isaiah says the curse has devoured the earth, and this is the time of great upheaval. and trouble.